Hello and welcome to the Grapeseed Official Podcast. Teacher Says is up to number 11 now. By this point, you all know the routine. Real Grapeseed teachers answering a couple of questions with their own thoughts and experiences. Today, we will hear from Aaron, Will, Bruno, and Matthew. Let's go. Number 1. As a Grapeseed teacher enters their second year of teaching, they probably have the flow of Grapeseed teaching down, how to teach the different types of components, and how to use the lesson plans. What advice do you have for them to continue growing?
I think the best advice can be summed up with what Bruno said in a previous Teacher Says episode 141, that once you start thinking you know everything, your lessons will start to suffer. I understand when going into the second year of teaching, you can get an extra feeling of confidence. You're more familiar with the lesson plans now. You might be start teaching the same units again with new classes. So it can be easy to feel that you don't really need to put as much focus or effort on some of those areas for a second time through. I think I had pretty much an ideal introduction to Grapeseed. I started at a school that just began their Grapeseed program. So I only had to learn one unit at a time, and I slowly went up with the students. And even with that experience, it was still very overwhelming to learn everything. And I imagine most other teachers have a much more hectic introduction to Grapeseed. I know the new teachers at my school now, they do. And because it can be a lot of information and very stressful in that first year, it's completely understandable that you'll be making lots of mistakes and forgetting things here and there. I definitely did. So when you get to the second year and you start to repeat units, go back and review the materials, because there is a good chance you don't remember everything as well as you might think. And this is a pitfall I've seen many teachers fall into, myself included, that because they have experience with a unit, they won't focus so much of spending time to prepare for a lesson or prepare for a unit. But when you actually start teaching it, maybe your melody's a little off for the songs, or your eyes will be on the story a bit too much because you need to read. So the biggest advice is not to let up in your second year. You got through the first, which is probably the most stressful, but now that's out of the way, you can start focusing on deeper learning and understanding.
I think that first and foremost, you have to want to keep growing. You have to feel that although you've learned all the basics and you know the flow of things, that you still have room to keep growing. Once you have that feeling of wanting to grow, then it's not hard to find things. For example, reach out to your trainer. Grapeseed has a lot of very wonderful trainers, and they're there to help you. And contact them, contact him or her, and talk about anything. Read the teacher's manual. I often find that just reading the lesson plans gives you questions and it tells you what to do in the specific lesson. But by reading the teacher's manual, you can see the reasons behind the questions and the reason behind the different activities that you do. Listen to the podcast. Every week is very interesting. Make notes about your lesson. Watch professional development videos on the portal. And my number one best thing is to make a video of your lesson and watch it. Especially make a video of the students. I often find that when I go back and watch the video of my students, when I watch their reactions, it's completely different from what I imagined they were doing when I was teaching the class.
Well, that first part of getting the flow right and knowing your lesson plans, that's very important. I think mostly just sometimes the lesson plans will give you direction and sometimes or an objective of some sort. And at that moment in your lesson, in your unit continuum, the kids may be able to do more than that. So my advice is, yes, of course, follow the lesson plan. But if you think your students can do more than what it says, push for more. And if they're not able to do that, fair enough, you can back it off a bit. But because oftentimes I'm in a lesson and I find, all right, that was pretty easy. let me try something a little bit more. Because I mean, I've been teaching Grapeseed now for quite a long time, over 11 years. And so I kind of know the endpoints of each component of the units. And so, all right, well, we can start on this part right now. And that's what I would recommend to do. Always push your students to do their best and have high expectations. So yeah, it's short, but that's what I would recommend.
Goodbye, my friends, goodbye. I'm sad to say goodbye. It was a good day, but now I will say goodbye, my friends, goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.